Hey YouTube, this is Jaden coming at you with another video. Today I'm gonna do a couple more. Just tips that I think would help you become a better player. I thought of actually 10 new tips, so I'm gonna break that down into 2 more videos. So be sure to check them out. Before I begin, because this will be the 3rd one I've done, if it seems like I've made the same point before, I don't mean to. It's because I thought of a different way to say it that it might either A, make more sense, B, it might have actually some more advice, so it might make another point that I previously made that maybe you didn't understand. It might become easier to understand, or, whatever. So I just want to throw that out there, and I'm dropping my phone, which has my list. Okay, so this is part 3, and the first one we're going to talk about is know your play style and stick to it. And what I mean by this is, I have a friend, and I'm not going to name names. When I very first met him, he was playing. He played the Soul Saver Barco build, and then he switched over to Oracle Think Tank and Coco eventually. I think he had Spectral Duke before the Coco build. Yeah, he went Soul Saver with Barkle, then he went to Spectral Duke, and then he went to Coco. Now, this is a prime example of what I'm talking about. Guys, when this friend of mine, who's a really, really good close friend, played Solus OTT with Coco, he won almost all the time. I don't know what it was. This deck for him, for some reason, every time he attacked with his Vanguard, he got crit heal, or crit and draw, or crit and another crit, and then every time he had 2 Silent Toms out, it was pretty much dead. You're dead, and then, so the main for this point, if you have a clan that's winning for you, stick with it until either A, you get tired of it, or 2, you start getting stale and you start losing. If you find a deck that works for you, stick with it. Don't just immediately go, okay, this deck works, let's go try something else. Stick with it for at least a while. 2, and this one's a big one. Keep an eye on what's coming out down the road. As far as cards, now this you can break this down into many different reasons, and the 3 that I thought of was look for cards down the road that are coming out that can A, help your deck, B, that'll be good trade bait because this card will be insanely popular, or 3, things that you'll have to deal with. That I think in one of my previous ones I said have a basic minimum knowledge about every clan, or at least know a thing or 2 about each one of them. And when I say keep an eye on what's coming down the road because there's something coming out that you'll have to deal with. For example, set 10, Narukami is going to get the best card they've ever got, and that's Dragonic Descendant. Now, Dragonic Descendant is amazing. He's one of the best cards in the game. Just know that he's coming, and when set 10 comes, he's going to be pretty hard to deal with. Just keep in mind, okay, in set 11 upcoming, the Kagero Break Ride comes out, the Aquaforce Break Ride comes out, so you're going to be seeing a lot of Aquaforce and Kagero players, at least in America. So just keep that in mind, so that's what I'm saying. Cards that are good for trade bait, guys. I'm going to make another video about this later. There are some cards that come out just at the wrong time, that when they come out, it's like they don't get a fair chance because they really have no place in the meta at the time. So, hold on to certain cards. One of the prime examples of cards like this that I like to point out, and this is just my opinion, guys. You can disagree with me on this, or agree with me, or just we can agree to have different opinions. This card, in my opinion, the card I'm holding is, it starts out Blue Storm, Supreme Dragon, Glory Maelstrom. This card, in my opinion, it came out at the right time, but it is not its time. I think this card right now is not needed in Aquaforce. I think Maelstrom is good enough by itself without a cross ride, because it has the potential to get 5 attacks off a turn. That's okay. And considering he gets to 26k when he's being supported by the 10k booster and his limit break, that's fine. So I don't think this card is needed yet, but I do think this card is going to become insanely good when the break ride comes out. That's what I mean by that. So, Just throwing that out there. You can do with it what you will. Number 3. Keep an idea of what key cards your opponent has added to his or her hand with abilities and or drive checks. Now, I have a prime example for you that happened last weekend at my locals. I was playing a friend of mine named Kyle, and if he watches this, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. At one point in the game, I was playing Dragonic Overlord at the end, and I was, I believe, on Dragonic Overlord. I was on my 4th turn, and I was on Dragonic Overlord, and one of my cards that I twin-drived was a copy of the end. No, wait. Was that it? But anyway, my point was, he believed that I had an end in hand, but he wasn't sure. He didn't commit that to his memory that, okay, Jaden has a copy of the end in his hand, and I know when he used Conroe's skill earlier, he has a perfect guard in hand. You know, and then when I declared my first attack with the end, he said, do you have a copy of the end in your hand? Before he said guard or no guard, and I said, no, I don't, you know. And then after I attacked and got the critical trigger, I was like, okay, Persona Blast, here's the copy of the end. You know, guys went, you know, and he was like, what? You told me you didn't have a copy, and it's like, can you believe me? You know, guys, when you're playing your opponent, being able to remember key cards that you know that they have in their hand is crucial. If you know they have a perfect guard in their hand, and you're playing Blonde Ezel, it might be smart not to use his limit break until you get that perfect guard that you know is in his hand out of the way. Or, you know, just be prepared that the end is not going to go off because they got perfect guards. You know, it's little things like that. Keep in mind that, okay, last turn they drive checked this and this. This I know is a 10k shield. This is a 5k shield. Just try and keep an idea of certain cards that are in their hands. You'd be amazed how much this will help you. Anytime my opponent twin drives grade 3s, you can pretty much minus one card out of their hand, and you can pretty much determine how much they have to guard with, or have a rough in the ballpark kind of idea. And this will make you a whole lot better because you'll know when to push. 4. No, and this is one of those points I think I might have said before, but I'm just going to either elaborate on it a little bit more, or I'm going to put it in another way where it will make it sound more clear. Know your deck's weaknesses and strengths. Know how to counteract your weaknesses, and know how to take full advantage of your strengths. If you play a certain deck and you know it's weak against another certain deck, know how to play against it. Know that, okay, I need to change this, and if you play against, say you're playing one deck and you know you have an extreme advantage against something else because either A, you get more card advantage, or B, you just gain more power, know that. Because this will help you when you know, okay, I can maybe be a little more reckless against this clan because I know my clan holds an advantage over it. Little things like this is what makes you a better player. And the last one for this video is don't be afraid to gamble. Guys, no matter what you do as far as gaming, you know, and especially Vanguard, you're going to have to take a chance every now and then. You're going to have to attack and hope for that trigger. You're going to have to take that 6 damage and hope it's a heal trigger to win the game. You're going to have to... One of the things that come to my mind is if you watched any of Season 3, I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, but one of the newer characters, he is afraid to use this unit's limit break because he's afraid that his opponent will be able to guard it. And Aichi tells him, don't be afraid, you know, he doesn't. He says, trust yourself. In other words, he was telling him, if you think this is the best option for you and you've got to take a gamble, don't be afraid to do it because, you know, every game that you play is not going to fall 100% into your lap. It's not going to go 100% according to your strategy and according to your plan. And I'll get more into this because I have another point to elaborate on that a little bit more. But you need to be ready to take that chance, take that gamble. Maybe when you're at 4 damage and you're facing a monster, that your opposing Vanguard is getting ready to attack yours, and you're at 4 damage, you might have to take the chance and say, no guard, and hope and pray they don't get it, that critical trigger to finish you. You're going to have to do it. It's part of the game, and just knowing and not being afraid to take that gamble is best. So, I'll elaborate these first 5 points that I've given to you in this video. Know your playstyle, stick to it. 2, keep an eye on what's coming out down the road. That'll be either cards for your deck, cards that you can trade to get off other cards that you want, or things that you'll have to deal with in the future. 3, keep an idea of what key cards your opponent has added to his or her hand through abilities and drive checks. That's a big one. 4, know your deck's weaknesses and strengths. Know how to counteract the weaknesses and know how to take full advantage of the strengths. And 5, do not be afraid to gamble, guys. So anyway, I hope these tips helped you. I hope you check out the one following this one. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Comment, rate, subscribe, thumbs up this video for me, and I'll see you later.